Dr. Wilson has had general oversight alongside me these last 5 years as we move on this. So this is going to be a shared experience. Dr. Wilson will take the lead. We have a presentation to share with you, and let's just go ahead and begin. Dr. Wilson.
Thank you, Dr. Mendeville. President Garcia, members of the governing board, members of the executive team, principals, and those watching. I'm excited tonight to share with you probably the most unique 5 years that we've had as a strategic plan from 2018 to 2023. And as Dr. Mendeville shared, this is a collaborative experience. I am merely the one here sharing the information with you, but this is the hard work of many. So I'd like to recognize some individuals first who have played important leadership roles and participated in the process. Ms. Kim Hilgers, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. Dr. Mary Keller, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. Mr. Roland Carranza, Assistant Superintendent for Business Services. Ms. Megan Sterling, Executive Director of Community Relations. Mr. Sean McDonald, Assistant Superintendent for District Operations, Safety, and Student Services. And Dr. Maya Alexic, Executive Director of Assessment and Accountability. She is our data guru, as you well know, and so she is here. And then also would like to thank all of the committee members who participated in this process over the last 5 years, and those who came in somewhere in the middle if we lost some along the way. A brief overview of our presentation for tonight. We're going to first talk about the 5-year time frame. And that's when I say the most unique 5 years, because we've got the context of COVID within that. We're going to talk about the strategic plan goals. We're going to talk about the objectives. We're going to review the progress of each of the goals. We'll talk about final recommendations from the goal committees. And then Dr. Mendeville will talk about planning for the revision of the strategic plan for 2023 and through 2028 that will start this spring, and then next steps. So first, I'd like to take you a little bit down memory lane, and let's talk about the last 5 years. So in spring of 2018, we had our former superintendent who pulled a group of stakeholders together and worked to create the current strategic plan. And then Dr. Mendeville was selected and hired to be the superintendent in that spring, and he started July 1st. And I was hired at that time too, and for this position, and started in July 1st. And we had our normal school year. And then we got into 2019, 2020, and that's where it all went in another direction, right? And so in March, we all learned, well, we were kind of paying attention around January, but when we got to March, we realized in spring break, and I know for many of us, we had to come into work and shorten the spring break to realize we weren't going to return to school as normal. And so what we call this is the pivot, because this completely changed our normal school operations. And when I say pivot, it's important. You'll see in like for 2 years of these 5 years, it took our focus and attention away from the normal work of the strategic plan, because our attention had to be focused on the needs of our students, our community, and our teachers. And so when we talk about 19, 20, 20, just to give you a few of those pivots, we had to distribute over 11,000 laptops to students within like a short period of time. We had to support our teachers with virtual learning. We had learning software, we had learning management systems, we had these things, but not everyone was comfortable with it and using it, so we had to get everybody comfortable. We had to provide on-site support as part of the governor's executive order, so we had to determine who our vulnerable students were and provide that support daily for them and figure out those operations. We had to plan for a virtual graduation, first time ever. How were we going to do that? And then also just redesigning how we navigated our schools and getting proper equipment. So when we talk about that year, and that's just a little bit that happened in that year. When we get to 2020 to 2021, so now we're into year 2 of the pandemic, and that's when we flipped into, take you down memory lane, the hybrid model. So we had some students who were attending in person. We had cohort A, we had cohort B, we had the asynchronous learning Wednesday, and so we did that from August to March. And a little bit with that one, We had to redesign how everyone navigated campus. We had to do campus videos. The administrators had to do that, how you walked hallways, how many people could be in a restroom. We had protocols for wiping down classrooms and desks. We had to make sure that we had cameras installed and microphones in all of the classrooms across the district. And we had to establish, which was led and facilitated by Mr. Brown, an ESSER Funds Committee, determining with our federal dollars and how we were going to support some of the things as we were navigating this. So that was our big 2-year hiccup that took us a little bit, the attention and the focus away from the strategic plan. And so in those times, some because of the pandemic and then other needs being more of a priority, we weren't doing a whole lot of meeting with the strategic plan. We got into 21, 22. This was the year where we're kind of returning to in-person learning, but we had a lot of challenges with behaviors and different things. And to look back now, we shouldn't have been too surprised. Our students, our staff, everyone, we've been out of practice of being in the normal operations of school, so that was challenging. And I believe this current year, 22, 23, this is the beginning of our new normal. So I feel like we're, we talk about our big theme was the big reset, and so we're settling in. So our goal chairs for this, Kim Hilgers leads goal number 1. Diane Muehlman's led goal number 2. And so we just hired Roland Carranza back to the district. So we appreciate Roland's leadership. He really helped to close out goal 2. Dr. Mary Keller led goal 3. And then goal 4, Megan Sterling started, but really I want to say it's around November, December of 2019. So Jennifer Lewer started the work of goal 4, and then Megan closed out the last couple years of goal 4. So we've had our own transitions. I help facilitate the work. So what we would do throughout the 5 years is the goal chairs and I and Dr. Minville, we come together. We look at the progress, we talk about overlap, we talk about some of the goals and priorities, and we talk about, how we're moving forward. So just to give you an example of what these look like, these are the goal, and you each serve on these, so this is not a secret to you, but for the community listening in, this is a massive project. And so tonight, what you're going to see are some highlights that the committees have selected for us to share with you and the viewing public. But these are huge documents with lots of data and information in them. And this is a little snapshot of where we house that information, where each of the goal chairs put things in. And then we have our meetings and document that. And just a quick look at how we capture this. This is an example of just one goal, one objective from the spreadsheet. So these are big. And I know in your participation in these, you may have seen these and this will look familiar to you. So there's a lot of information. I could probably present on this like every day for 5 days to cover it all, but for the sake of tonight and the limited amount of time that we have, we're going to highlight a few of the areas that our goal committees would like to share with you. So we'll start with goal 1, and that's we will work collaboratively to ensure all students learn at high levels. And this is led by Ms. Hilgers. So to highlight one of the objectives and a couple of goals, the first objective, we will provide equitable and challenging learning experiences that ensure all students develop skills that lead to success beyond high school. So part of what the committee came up with was 100% of Tempe Union students having access to equitable course offerings and increasing that until 2023. So with this, Teaching and Learning worked with our administration and looked at college and career indicators. They looked at dual enrollment classes. They looked at honors course offerings and just looked at what do we need per site. And this is work within our school district, but we also take a look at the feeder schools that feed into the schools and looking at what the interests are and where we put specific programs and how we put those courses. And then also we introduced collaborative courses. Those are recent. I believe we're in year 2 in our collaborative courses. And so these are courses where, sometimes when we get into the dual enrollment classes, there may be issues with certifications and who has the certification for students to receive college credit. And so if you don't have it on a campus, this is one where students can access the class. And we have a teacher at one campus and students there, but then other students are accessing that class and that teacher from the campus. And so what we're seeing is that our course catalog is showing that our course offerings are increasing. What we are seeing a little bit with dual enrollment, we started high, I want to say, and I know we've got Dr. Alexic here who can share when we get to the end a lot of the data if you really want to drill down a little bit more and get to specifics. We had in 18-19 about 103 dual enrollment classes. It's dipped a little bit to 97. I also, though, would wonder about the percentage because we've also had a slight dip in enrollment, but we're working to get back up. We believe that some of that is impact due to COVID. But I will say on the college and career indicators, you've heard Ms. Hilgers and Dr. Alexic talk about those CCRI points with the state and that's looking at those different indicators, and our schools are increasing in those points every year. But again, at the end, if you'd like to drill down and get more data, we can share that. Goal 2, 100% of students will have a counselor working with them to successfully complete a rigorous course of study for post-secondary success. So what we have our school counselors working in collaboration with the academic interventionists. And this is to help make sure that the students' needs are met if there are challenges that are happening. You've heard us, it says response to intervention there, RTI. So we're looking at that model to help them. And then also, school counselors are helping our students to graduate on time, so to stay in progress. And that is something, and you'll see some of these, they'll vary and they'll go. Our graduation rates were going up. You're going to see a goal here in a second where they're going up, and then we had a little dip back, again, probably due to COVID, and it also matches what we saw with the state. Same objective, other goals. Tempe Union will increase four-year graduation rates annually by at least 1% at each campus until we reach a district-wide graduation rate of 95%. At that point, it was 89%, and then increase the fifth-year graduation rate. And so we were on track with this up until 2020, 2021, where we dipped from 91. We went up to 90 to 91, and then we dipped down to 85. And so did the state level. And even that 85, though, is higher than the state graduation percentage. But we believe that's due to COVID, and we have plans going on right now to help students get back on track. There's a lot of work being done, and you'll see some of that in here with our sites to get students on track. We also further enhanced our MTSS, the multi-tiered system of support. And we added team members, and you'll see some of that because some of these were things that you all approved. And this was to focus on student support. We know the pandemic came with other challenges, and we had students learning and not in our buildings. There were things we couldn't control, so we had to see how we could provide support and keep them on track. And then we restructured our bell schedules. We had our schools kind of had varying lengths of class periods with learning, and we didn't have equity with that. And so we restructured the bell schedule so that also what could happen is the class periods were longer, so our teachers could begin to implement tier 1 interventions right within the class period. As we look at goal 4, we'll increase student proficiency on state standards annually on each campus by at least 5% as measured by state and district assessments. Here's the deal with that one. We have not had a consistent state measurement. And so I'll take you through what we've had so you can see where this is difficult to measure, although this is one the committee wants to keep for the next strategic plan, and Dr. Mendenville will talk a little bit about that. But in 18-19, we were shifting into the ASEM2, so we had AZ Merit, then there was ASEM2, and then AIM Science. In 1920, we didn't have any state testing data. In 2021, ASEM2 was administered to 10th graders only, and then ACT was piloted. And then in 21-22, ACT and AZ Sci were administered. So it's been we've had several different assessments, so this one's a difficult one to track. However, we do have district assessments and we have the Horizon practice test, but we've got common final assessments. When we look at our Algebra 2, we actually saw that our students were progressing, and then there was a little dip in 2021. But in English, in the junior English, we saw progress and increases in each year. So we had other things we were tracking in the meantime while we couldn't. But again, this is one the committee is going to want us to keep focus on once we get a consistent assessment. And goal 5, Tempe Union will create a comprehensive online learning program to provide flexible learning opportunities to meet the varying needs of students in the district. So what we did was we moved for a short while into virtual learning. And so within that, we created some common instructional units and we shared assessments. And so student and teacher expectations were created along with tracking procedures. A whole virtual learning model was created there for students doing that. And then also we created an instructional time model, and that was submitted to the governing board for approval and also to ADE. And then we expanded our online course offerings. We kind of had a sprinkling of offerings, but once we hit 2021, we have a really robust online course offering after that so that we're meeting more student needs. Next objective, we will use data to guide instruction and professional practice. So 100%, the goal is 100% of Tempe Union site level administration will have easy access to data to inform and guide instruction. Prior to the data warehouse, we had administrators kind of looking into synergy, or just different reports trying to run in. And we talked about a data warehouse where we could have things housed. And thank you to the governing board, you approved that purchase. And so we have that now with Decision Ed. And so this provides all relevant student data, and this is helpful to our administrators and our certified staff. So this is something now that they have access to and that they can track and monitor. The main things they're monitoring: attendance, discipline, achievement, behavior, and it's also disaggregated by subgroup and program membership. So lots of information there. Our administrators have been trained, members of the MTSS team have been trained, our teachers will be trained third quarter in this year. Goal 2, Tempe Union, 100% of the site level administration will utilize the data calendar to reflect or to review, analyze, and act on different data points. So we're working on this balanced assessment plan. You'll see that again within the plan. And it includes a data calendar and data discussions to monitor school level goals. As a matter of fact, we're in the midst of having data discussions now with our school administrators. So we're looking at that, and what the teaching and learning department did was create a calendar, and we have different snapshots of the data that we should be looking at month to month so that we're then engaging in discussion with our administrators. They are engaging in discussion with their teachers, and we're focused on that and making any necessary adjustments that we need to improve our students' learning. Continuing with using data to guide instruction and professional practice. 100% of the district programs will have an embedded evaluation plan to assess program effectiveness and impact on student learning. So we can monitor the progress currently with federal programs Title I and EL, and then also additionally with our CTE programs. We are working on program evaluation models and considering those for other district programs. So for Title I, we've got Read 180, which looks at Lexile scores, and we can track the progress there. And then in the math lab, we have Alex, and that looks at the math competencies and how students are doing with that. With EL, we have the Azella reassessment, and then Read 180 in System 44. And then in CTE, there are state skills assessment and state performance measures. And so those we have, and then they create action plans based on those. And then what we will look at as we move forward is we're going to look at special ed, gifted, IB, AVID, dual language, dual enrollment, and Tempe Union online. And we're looking to have consistency of evaluating programs across the board. Goal 4, we will implement a district-level balanced assessment system. So we've developed classroom-level implementation plans for this, and professional development was provided to all certified staff for consistent implementation across all schools and classrooms. And so teachers can access the PD. It's housed within our frontline system, and this is something we're going to continue to look at. Objective C, we will provide support services that reduce obstacles to learning and meet the academic and social emotional needs of all students. This is a goal you're going to see where we have overlap. And then you'll see another recommendation for this to maybe come out a little more in the forefront in the future in the next 5-year strategic plan. But looking at this, we wanted a baseline assessment to identify social emotional needs of students to support ongoing planning to address student identified needs. And so that was the purchase of the Panorama software, and that's currently being used with our schools, and that's one where the parents, I believe they opted in, right, Mr. McDonald? I know that he and Ron Denny were working with the schools on that. Each school has individual database, data based on student referrals, adult referrals, counselors, and Care 7 data points. And then we also hired going into goal 2, we needed a social emotional wellness coordinator, and we hired a full-time coordinator, and that is Mr. Ron Denny, who you all have heard from on several occasions. Objective C, we will provide support services that reduce obstacles to learning and meet the academic and social emotional needs of all students. So I believe in 2018, I don't know that we were really using the language of MTSS. It may have been at the very beginnings of it. It has become a part of the lexicon now of us using things. So it is standard language now among employees here in our schools. So we created MTSS for social emotional wellness needs. So we had one for academics, and we talked about the tiers and there's the 1, the 2, and the 3. Well, we felt we needed that for social emotional wellness as well. And then we would support the refinement of MTSS on each campus. And so our district provides access to these social emotional actions, the MTSS social emotional wellness actions on each campus. And then there are clear areas for support and guidelines for delivery. And then there's a protocol developed to track the needs of students. And just ongoing program evaluation will continue to refine that. But I will say, because we're in the midst of our data discussions with our administrators and we are talking about MTSS, some really wonderful, awesome things are happening now that we have that tiered system where we're looking at that and supporting students. And then goal 4, develop a district-wide suicide prevention protocol. And the district researched this. Various prevention programs, and we surveyed stakeholders and feedback and developed a TUHSD model. And you'll see several of those and what those are. And there's some crossover with this in Goal 4 where you will see this again. Now moving on to Goal 2. We will ensure resources meet the current and future needs of our students. So again, mostly led by Ms. Diane Muehlmans. And then Mr. Carranza came on and helped to close out the work of this committee. So 2 objectives in here to combo some of these. We will provide resources to meet the educational, physical, and social emotional needs of our students. And we will provide a safe, healthy, and well-maintained environment for all. So we identified sources to target social emotional needs. And so Goal 2, when they looked at this, they knew there were needs before, but once we hit the pandemic, they felt these needs will be prolonged for a little while we're coming through or coming out of that. And they felt that there was a need to increase the social emotional resources available to students and staff. So the following positions were funded. So 6 behavior interventionists in general education and 3 in special education. We have 1 community response and intervention coordinator, 1 prevention coach, and 1 additional counselor. We added 5 additional Care 7 counselors, and then what you heard me mention earlier, the Panorama platform with gathering baseline data. We also have the Calm app for all of our staff. Care Solace is 24/7 support for our students and their families for needed support around that. And then we see it mentioned here again, the funding of a full-time social emotional wellness coordinator, Mr. Danny, and that started with fiscal year 2020. Objective B, we will provide resources for all staff to successfully fulfill their roles and responsibility. Develop a mentorship program, not an evaluator, for new hires by summer of 2022. So a certified mentorship program was started this year, this school year, and the programs currently serves teachers who are in those first 3 years of teaching. And budget advisory recommended and the governing board approved, thank you, ongoing funding for this program at the October 12th governing board meeting. And the plan is to develop a classified mentorship program as well that will start in the year of 23-24. Next objective, we will provide technological and innovative resources to support our mission of excellence in teaching and learning. So we want to increase technology, equipment, services, and support for students and staff. So we did that quick pivot, had to go to one-to-one initiative where every student's getting a laptop. That started in spring 2020, and now we are fully a one-to-one student laptop district. There were additional purchases of student laptops. We had to get monitors, docking stations, headsets, cameras, as I mentioned early, and all of this was really our big pivot due to the pandemic, but making sure that our students could access that whether they chose to learn with us virtually or in person in that 2021 school year. And we also doubled our wide area network capacity. The next objective, we will provide responsible financial stewardship to accomplish our vision, mission, and goals. So we want to create ways to highlight and promote what Tempe Union is doing to inform the community that we are committed to making moral, ethical, and prudent decisions with taxpayer dollars. So we refinanced our outstanding bonds, and that was completed in September 2020. And so that saved $3.2 million for our taxpayers. And then due to the district's financial stewardship, and I think you all have heard this before, but you know what? I'm excited to say it again. We've received the S&P Global AA stable rating and Moody's A1 rating, which is the highest rating afforded to school districts. And we created a user-friendly brochure for the annual financial report, which began with a 2021 annual financial reporting year. Strategic goal 3, we will recruit and retain a highly effective and diverse staff. This is led by Dr. Keller. We will continue to identify and address and remain competitive with compensation and policies affecting recruitment and retention efforts. So this is more on the recruitment and retention efforts. So there was a compensation study, which you all will probably remember, and that started in the 18-19 school year. And we put together some recommended changes after going through that. And so the salary structures for all the employee groups were adjusted based on that. And what this will happen is they will annually, HR is annually reviewing those to see that we're remaining competitive with all our employee groups. We looked at our recruiting practices and developed and refined a recruitment plan, and we added new graduate school partners. And so we created 2 recruiting videos and identified new job fairs to attend and targeting just various diverse groups. You'll see the partnerships there that were created with some of our graduate schools. And then we increased our online recruiting and advertising exposure by partnering with 3 new online recruiting companies and other means of recruitment and social media presence. And you see those listed below, things like Indeed, Veteran, National Association of Black Male Educators, Latinx, Job Boards, Latinx, sorry, and then Handshake using Handshake software. And then HR looked at revising the onboarding process and reviewing the process for efficiencies. And what you'll see here in a little bit and a few more slides up, you're going to see a human resources mission statement, which they worked hard and they take great pride that they created. And they did some restructuring in the department. They did some teaming, learning of different things so that they could be more effective. And then implemented stipends and recruitment incentives for 22-23. And also there was a $3,000 stipend for hard to fill positions. Next objective, we will continue to identify, address, and remain competitive with compensation and policies affecting recruitment and retention efforts. So when we look at this one, and starting with you're going to see it break down here. With certified staff, we've maintained consistent attrition rates, and you see those percentages there have been pretty low, between 8 and 10%. There's one exception, and that was the 21-22 school year. It went up a little bit, and we believe that that is due to COVID. We think that's an anomaly due to COVID. We implemented a national board certification program, and the first cohort started with that in 2020. And we've been conducting stay surveys and interviews to determine what's important to our certified staff and to identify action steps to support and increase retention. And then we reviewed and revamped job descriptions and salary structures for the Student Services Coordinator in 2021. They've started the review for counselors, and librarians will be coming up. And now as we look at classified staff, we've reduced classified staff attrition each year. Small increase, again, we believe due to COVID in that 2021 school year. And the compensation study plan increased classified salaries over the past 3 years to be market competitive. And it was completed at the end of this year. And then for all staff, we have retention stipends for this current school year, and we have longevity stipends for all staff. And now you see the mission statement for HR. It is the mission of the human resources staff to provide a uniquely individualized and positive customer service experience by attracting, welcoming, supporting, and retaining a diverse and qualified staff. Next objective, we will enhance technological capabilities to optimize effectiveness and efficiency in all aspects of human resources operations. So they're looking at doing an audit of the software and identify the needs for upgrades, enhancements, replacements, appropriate use. So when we look at some of the compliance requirements that we have to do with all of our employees as they come on board or renew annually, you see the bulleted list there to show from conflict of interest reporting to McKinney-Vento, the handbook, staff misconduct. So Safe Schools is the provider for that. And they've reviewed HR applications and renewed the following software that you see there listed below those 4 bulleted items. The next objective, we will develop and provide professional development and mentoring opportunities for all employee groups. So when we look at professional development, Teaching and Learning hired a PD coordinator in the 21-22 school year, and that is Margaret Fountain, and began classified leadership trainings in this current school year. And we developed classified PD during the half days. During the half days, usually our teachers are going into training, and we also provided that for we had a menu of options for our classified staff as well. We're revamping our administrative leadership training, and we have some dates set in the summer to onboard our new administrators. And then leadership training modules were implemented in 18-19. With mentoring, there's work happening with the PD coordinator to implement the new teacher mentoring program that was this year. And then CTEC, this is our classified employee group, implemented an informal mentoring program at the sites to welcome new classified staff. And that started last school year. And then we are in the process, we have developed and we have applied for at this point, and we're excited about this, the Grow Your Own Teacher in Residence program, and we hope to implement that in 23-24. We're very excited about that. Next objective, we will ensure a professional and respectful work climate that supports Tempe Union's mission, vision, core values, and beliefs. So as we look at professional and respectful work climate, There is the work of Dr. Moon and the diversity and inclusion work. And so we've added job posting sites. We've added new job posting sites and social media where we can provide outreach to more diverse candidates. We revamped the job application to include culturally inclusive questions and to assess candidates' cultural sensitivity and knowledge. And we've restructured our leadership interviews to include diversity and cultural related scenarios. We've restructured the wellness committee for our students and our teachers. There's a bi-monthly benefits newsletter, and we've implemented wellness apps. So you heard me talk about Calm app already, but we've also added Talkspace and 98 Degrees. And Talkspace is for talk therapy, 98 Degrees is medical support. It's an app for that. And then the annual wellness calendar is coming in January 2023, so coming next month. And now moving on to strategic goal 4, we will create and nurture partnerships with the community to support students and staff. This is led by Megan Sterling. So the first objective, we will expand communication strategies to inform stakeholders, promote involvement, and celebrate successes. So the first one, and boy, I remember this. It was, we got to be able to text. I mean, emails are nice, but when things happen, we know with the phones, those are usually, you can get to families quicker. And so there was a lot of work done to get that text function working with Blackboard. And so we got the mass notification system, which gave us the ability to text. And I remember this was a huge process because we had to get families to opt in. It was a lot. Now it seems, we benefit from the hard work that we did then, but this was a big undertaking, and we benefit from that now when we have things and we need to reach families quickly. We created a district-wide position to manage school web pages and social media accounts. And so this was created and filled in August 2018. And our own Noah Huerta, who's here, it's funny, I was going to mention your name, but he is filling that position now. And he also works with Nellie Mullins. She also works with the webpage as well. And it's been a huge asset for us to have that because and I'm sure you all are connected to the social media, you see that information is coming out all the time about the wonderful things that are going on and opportunities for our families at our schools. And the next goal, develop school promotion videos for each site. And so we have 5 completed. This has been the work of Warren Cole along with the site administration. 5 of the 6 schools are completed. When he was getting ready to, we were in transition with the school, so we've waited on the 6th school to get it done, but that is in the works now. We will collaborate with the community to identify opportunities and resources to meet the educational and social-emotional needs of students and staff. So you see this again, develop a district-level position to coordinate social-emotional wellness efforts with community partners. So this is the addition of Ron Denny's position. And then we'll partner with community partner with community organizations to provide suicide prevention training for all teachers. So you saw this earlier in goal 1, and now you see some specifics. So there was a grant that provided training, and currently Acts on Facts is the online suicide prevention awareness training that's being used, and this is an annual piece that we have going. And then we wanted to grow the partnership with Tempe Care 7, and we have done this. So you saw this in goal 2's committee as well with the additional funding of some of the Care 7 specialists within our schools. And so 2 at each site. The next objective, we will increase community awareness of the district's commitment to diversity and inclusion. And we want to develop recruitment materials that reflect who we are and the families we serve. And I'm really proud of our marketing materials because I believe they do just that. So all of our external marketing materials. They are carefully designed, they're vetted to showcase the diversity of students and staff within our community. And the next goal, update the diversity webpage to ensure tools and resources are current and timely. And so these are updated and provided via the direction of the district's diversity and inclusion coordinator, Dr. Cliff Moon, who works on keeping that updated. And then the other goal, promote diversity events for the public and students to attend. And so the Community Relations Department works with Dr. Moon to ensure that those events are promoted to the correct audience, and that's both internal within our district and within our community. So Dr. Mendeville is going to talk about the recommendations now that each goal committee gave as they closed out their work over the last 5 years.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Excellent job. When you hear all this, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, but the magnitude of collecting and the work and the accomplishment hiccups, and then it's just overwhelming, quite frankly, but it's exciting on another level because we are able to at least capture some of these items for recommendations for the future and have those as consideration. Because I have my own thoughts on a lot of these, but I know we're on time. So for goal 1, for our teaching and learning, to maximize the calendar, master schedule, and teacher staff contracts, there's got to be an alignment with everything that we do, from the calendar year, the master school calendars, the contracts, and how we include credit recovery and credit advancement during the intersession. Now that we have the luxury of having the 2 weeks, or will have that luxury of 2 weeks in between, even more so, an opportunity for us. A big one for me, and I think probably for some of our board members, but I'd be talking with executive team members, a student achievement monitoring system. What I'm excited about, because this just catapults to where I think we can go next, and that is through some of the goals and goal development and actually coming to reality. And I've talked to the board on a number of occasions of providing the infrastructure, the foundation for some of the things to go that next step. And that's kind of where we're at with this. While we have student achievement monitoring systems, they're not as clean as they need to be. And I believe we are prepared to get to that next step, so that we look at various ways in which we can show our student progress, not necessarily just on the ACT, but in other measurements through our common assessments that we have for all of our core areas and actually for the non-core areas. Research and utilize grading practices. We've been talking about standards-based grading for years. In fact, we were on a fairly positive momentum to seeing that, and then again, the pandemic hit. So lots of progress and progressive ways of looking at education and tracking what we do was halted really because of the pandemic, but we're right on the heels of being able to achieve some of those goals that we had in prior years. And the leadership capacity through training, mentorship, leadership development. When Dr. Gonzalez was here, she began some of that, and we had to remove that position, but we want to continue having leadership opportunities for our internal candidates, because we're all aging. We age out, and so but we had to have cross training, and so those of our not just our assistant principals, but our department leaders and other teachers who want to go into site leadership, we identify them, but they need to have training. They need to so we're trying to build capacity across all of our levels. Goal number 2 for future district planning. This is business services around our resources. And what I've heard from members of that team and from Diane and from Roland as well, just that they want to really focus to make sure that we are providing the district resources that our students need. And that may look different as we move forward in our coming years, because there is a reality out there that even with Title I funds, or other types of funds, we may need to do a little bit more for those students so that we can really target programs and resources and support for the students who probably need it the most. So I'm glad that they wanted to put that there, because not equity doesn't mean the same dollar amount necessarily. And I know I'm probably saying things that I probably shouldn't, but we've got to look at ways in which we can refocus and redirect resources to the students who need it the most, even with existing non-M&O money. I'm just saying it. Overlapping goals and strategies with other goal committees. I think that was one of the things, if they wanted to have that focus just on resources, that and then just to avoid duplicity of effort. That's what I heard more often, not with the other goal chair. Goal 3, with recruitment, retention with highly qualified in our human resources group. Complete teacher retention and recruitment project. We're going to look at the surveys. We're going to look at stay interviews. We already had a preliminary data report from that was given to the executive. Want to agendize at a future meeting to share some of that information. Helpful. Develop and implement a full-scale employee induction and support program for each of our groups. We do, I think, a fairly appropriate job with attracting teachers and folks, getting them here, but we need to support them to get here. Because I will tell you, in talking with my counterparts in other districts, meaning superintendents and assistant supes, we expect more from our folks, which is good. Our focus is on our students and learning. I'm very excited because I've heard some preliminary chatter about the Grow Your Own Teacher program through ADE and what we've submitted. I looked at. I really think it's going to be approved by ADE, which would be a huge thing for our district. The evaluation tools and process will have a review and make appropriate changes that will align with some of the goals that we will be looking and talking about in spring. And then always to be on top of compensation for all our employee groups so that we are current, competitive. Goal number 4 with Megan Sterling's goal, consider it a separate goal for these areas of social emotional learning and diversity and inclusion work. There is a lot of overlap in 2 areas. We want to continue to promote the work of Care 7 and expand that if appropriate, along with other external partners. And then to celebrate our district alumni in progress, share good news as well as any necessary information. Tempe High, I think, does one of the best jobs in celebrating alumni with the Buff Foundation. And so I'd like to look at that, what they do, and model some of the work that we do. And then the next steps. I think this is where the meat and potatoes come together. And we have a request for proposal that was completed. And so we are already beginning the planning for the strategic plan for next year. I've already been working on that. We will be holding planning meetings with the consultant, and I'm not unable to name the consultant now because they have not been notified proper purchasing requirements, so they need to be notified first. But we need to archive the existing planning document, electronic and hard copy, because that we need to start creating a history here so that we can learn from what we've done well and where the areas where we can improve upon. And then I believe developing and organizing for a goal and data tracking system. Have some foundations for tracking and taking in data, but now we need to track that data. What I mean with that is that it's not just coming in and we're just storing it, but how are we tracking the fact that it's being put in the first place, that we're downloading. We have to have a system, an ongoing system that makes sense for that. But more importantly, when we write goals, because we will be writing a number of goals in the spring that are going to be tied to markers of data within the data that's available to us so that we can actually show some metric to monitor the progress of each of our goals that we write for each of the, I'm saying 4 goals committees. It could be 5 next year, but it's all dependent upon the work of the spring committee. So there's a lot of exciting work that I think is going to happen in the spring with some of this information, but having the input of our students, having the input of our teachers and staff and our stakeholders so that they hold themselves accountable and own the goals and the work that we're all working towards. And that is basically to improve student outcomes across the board, from academics to their attendance in various activities. Of course, the athletics. We have lots of opportunities in Tempe for our students, and we need to be able to track progress. See, okay, here we started point A with X number, and on point B, we have improved over here. That's an area that I think we all can agree upon that we can and will be doing better next year. Now have the foundation to be able to make those kinds of achievements. And then provide regular updates as we move forward in the strategic plan 2023-2028. As we move forward in that planning in the meetings, because we're going to have a lot this spring to bring updates to the governing board as appropriate. Hopefully with completion, I believe we will be good. Have this in preparation for goals that we write, agree upon, and embrace for the 23-24 school. Question.
Thank you, Dr. Vanderbilt. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. All right, board members, comments, questions? All right, Member Barraza.
Appreciate the presentation and all the hard work all the committees and everyone involved really put into these, well, since 2018. And I remember coming on to the board, and discussion was, beginning these strategic plans, developing them. So it's very wild to think of it in perspective that we're in 2022. And so I appreciate the hard work. Really, I wish there was a way that we can visually see, like go into a classroom and see a 2018 classroom and then look at it now. And I think that would really highlight that transition. Unfortunately we can't, but we do see it in the classroom, and we do see it in the work, with social emotional counselors and so forth. And so I really appreciate all the hard work for the past 4 years that I've been on the board, watching all of you guys work towards these goals. For me, I think, ultimately I'm just looking in the goal where food and nutrition can possibly fit in. I think a lot about, our students and whether they're meeting the food, their nutritional needs. And so if we can look at that, where that may fit in potentially, looks like possibly goal 2 or so forth. That'd be, meaningful for me. Also, it looks like Superintendent Hoffman at the state, Superintendent Kathy Hoffman, just announced, I believe, something vague about 200 million or 20 million. I don't know, but if you guys can look into that for food and nutrition. I don't know the details. I just actually read it briefly. And so if you guys can look into that and see how that will be beneficial for us, as we work on our goals, if we utilize that or what that means. But I just want to say thank you for the presentation. Wonderful last 4 years, all of you. Really, really do mean that.
Thank you, Member Barraza. Member James.
Great. This presentation was really great. Thank you for all the work, all the people that put the time and energy into this. This is a lot to put together and present, and an hour is definitely not a lot, as you referenced, Dr. Wilson. But for me, just coming on in the middle of COVID, and our strategic plan wasn't the focus of our conversations, as you stated. We were getting laptops out, having these conversations, and how we're proceeding with COVID dominated the beginning of Vice President Montero, my term. So it's actually really exciting to look back and see all the work that has been done. And I would love to see in our new strategic plan, just having goals of benchmarks of these updates regularly. Obviously, like this was such an interrupted plan, and to see all the things that have been accomplished, so cool. So if we have that 5-year uninterrupted, to have known updates, maybe create some sort of a living document that we can all access to. We are putting the information in, we've accomplished this, we've accomplished that. And even just thinking of onboarding new board members or staff to say, this is our strategic plan, this is where we are in it, these are what we've accomplished. Just to know, really, really know that data would be phenomenal. I wish I had kind of these updates earlier. I mean, COVID, not our fault, but I think that would be really great to have that on the calendar and have it as a reference. You know, it really kind of helps, I think, our staff as a whole to really know our goals, see how we're accomplishing them. So that's just my kind of takeaway from this, because I was getting really excited with some of those things that you just don't always hear about, and they're really positive. So thank you. Thank you for all of this.
I want to comment on that because I think that's part of telling the story. And so we were telling the story and we got to chapter 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 were kind of missing because it changed the whole dynamic of your story. And so, but I also think that when you have board members and just new employees to the district to have a review, whether it's, you know, biannually, but to look at the goals and have some sort of an, you know, study session or presentation that people say, okay, here's what we did this year, or even this 6 months, to kind of tell that continual story of work that we're doing on behalf of our students and our staff. So, and that's going to be part of at least my expectations, or at least requests in the revision of this strategic plan.
Great, awesome. Yeah, just, and being in a district where we just adopted a new strategic plan, there are so many things to create that buy-in for sure when it comes to our staff, that I think that it's definitely worth it. Just to be able to say, hey, yep, simply, here's a highlight, here's a part of that story, and this is what we're working on, and this is what we've already done. So, especially with those benchmarks being accomplished, we can have those outcome goals.
Thank you, Member James. Member Hodge.
Yes, I am sorry I'm out of town, out of the area, but I just want to say to Dr. Wilson, phenomenal job on the presentation. Dr. Miniville, great job on trying to encompass the strategic plan. I was one of the lucky board members that were here long before the COVID and long right now, and I see how the break piece came in, and I understand because it wasn't something that anybody could proceed ahead of time, but I just love that we're getting right back on track. There's so many other districts are nowhere near where we're at, so we should be proud and excited that we are at an area that we can get back on track, and Tempe Union, our kids aren't suffering like other areas are. So that's all I have to say. I just want to thank you guys, and have a good night.
Thank you so much, Member Hodge. I agree. Just going through the presentation and upon reflection of the last 4 years, at least for me, has been pretty monumental to see how much work has gone into so much of this, and just going through and being reminded of the specific conversations that we've had, the specific, actions that we have taken. And I'm just grateful that we've been able to accomplish so much and pivot in such challenging time. And looking forward to the future, seeing how next steps are with the strategic plan. Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson, all the team members and committee members, and then Dr. Monroe. All right, at this time, this is the end of the study session. We will actually reconvene around 7:40, 7:45. So thank you. Awesome. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We're reconvening this meeting. The time is now 7:43. I'm refusing to look at the audience because I will start crying. So we will begin with the welcome and national anthem with McClintock's own a cappella choir under the direction of Katie Garrick. And then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dr. Menville, and then land acknowledgement by Member James.
I pledge allegiance
Thank you.
Tempe Union High School District acknowledges that our community of schools is located on the ancestral lands of the Akmal Odom, Pima, and Pipash Maricopa indigenous peoples who have inhabited these lands since time immemorial. With this land acknowledgement, the district formally recognizes that the traditional care and keeping of these lands by indigenous peoples allow us to be here today.
Thank you so much, Member James, Renville, Talk Acapella Choir, Katie Garrick. Appreciate it. We'll go straight into a presentation with Prospect Youth and Dr. Menville.
Thank you, President Garcia, Vice President Montero, members of the board, executive team members present, our audience, our esteemed audience members, and especially our students attending. So we appreciate that. I'm going to call up Maria Bartlett, the Pascua Yaqui Youth Leadership Coordinator. She doesn't want much attention, but she does a wonderful job with our students. Yes, clap. But I also want to acknowledge Serena Preciado, the Director of Education from the Pascua Yaqui tribe. Did you drive all the way from Tucson? Okay, good. You can join them if you'd like, but we want to acknowledge you. Okay. And then we have our wonderful students, Annalisa Ortega and Brianna Molina, both from Marcos. And they have a wonderful presentation that when I saw the presentation, I thought this is heartfelt. And we're going to listen to it. So you guys take it away, okay?
Los Centenario, Malia. Hello, my name is Brianna Molina. And I am Annalisa Ortega. And we are representatives on the Basca Yaqui Tribe Youth Council. Tonight we will be discussing the work of our youth council and covering the challenges that impact Yaqui youth in the Tempe Union High School District schools. We will also propose solutions that we have created for the challenges that we highlight. Before we continue with the content of this presentation, we would like to tell you a bit more about ourselves. We are both students at the Tempe Union High School District and attend Marcos de Niza. We both live in Guadalupe and participate in our cultural ceremonies. I am a 16-year-old sophomore and a Guadalupe representative on the Youth Council. The work we do on Youth Council is important to me because I want to make a change in my community and bring awareness to the challenge my tribe faces. I am an 18-year-old senior and a Guadalupe representative on the Youth Council. I work to uplift and celebrate my fellow tribal people so that their voices are heard and they show pride in who they are. We are a group of 11 Yaqui youth from multiple Yaqui communities selected for a one-year term. Our mission is to empower other youth, advocate for our people, and serve our communities. During our term, we participate in community activities such as Halloween and Christmas events. We also volunteer at events like the Yaqui Youth Leadership Convention. We have hosted our own events as well, such as the Yaqui Youth Summit at our Federal Recognition Day celebration and a cleanup cemetery project. Our mission is the reason we are here this evening, and we will now begin to share the challenges we've identified and our proposed solutions. The first challenge that we have identified is cultural-related absences. Many Yaqui students are very culturally involved and have missed many days due to their celebrations that occur during school times that affect our absences. Our solution is that it would be beneficial to us as Yaqui students to be excused and not have it count against our attendance rate. Having cultural-related absences would not only benefit Yaqui students, but other students from other cultures who have cultural celebrations as well. The second challenge we have identified is cultural sensitivity. We have found that many teachers and staff are not aware of the significant role Yaqui culture has in the lives of Yaqui students. It is important that teachers and staff are aware of these traditions because there is a high population of Yaqui students enrolled. The teachers spend a lot of time with the students and are prone to influence us as well and misunderstand us through cultural differences. Knowing where we came from will help them reach a better understanding. The solution we have come up for this is educator cultural sensitivity training. This class will be to educate school staff about Native American cultures. The class will be curated by the Guadalupe Yaqui Youth Council representatives and other Native youth leaders. They will also help to facilitate this training. The third challenge we identified is the lack of representation within the schools. For as many Yaqui students that are enrolled in the Tempe Union High School District schools, there are still many students who do not know who we are as Yaqui people or if even Native American people still exist. The representation of Yaqui people has been prominently shown in the MDN Library during Indigenous Peoples Month. However, there should be school-wide representation throughout the duration of the school year. The 3 solutions we have come up with involve art, curriculum, and activities. The Marcos Tenisa campus would benefit from a mural created by a Yaqui student to showcase our culture. Classes that teach Yaqui history and culture will be a great way to teach students about their peers. Implementing activities throughout the school year will create student engagement with Native culture.
We deeply appreciate you for hearing our voices and amplifying them. We are excited to continue representing the Yaqui youth in the Tempe Union High School District.
We will also like to extend a special thank you to Brian Garcia for his service and leadership and for being an example of a modern Yaqui leader.
Chokoyotesia, thank you.
I want to convey my I'm impressed. I'm like speechless. You guys, you girls, you did beautiful. You articulated very clearly areas that we can all pay attention to. And I just appreciate how much thoughtfulness and care and attention went into the presentation. And I really actually would like to use some of this information to share with our principals on a deeper level and kind of get into some of the weeds that I think, for the sake of time, I know, and I'm going to talk to you about the weeds of what that could look like so we can improve what we do all around for students in general, but for this presentation for our Pascua Yaqui youth. And so I just appreciate it very much. You did a beautiful job, just a beautiful job.
Yes, thank you so much. But first, some of the information, you're using all of this information. But I'm just incredibly grateful to you all and for your leadership. We are able to do this because you have the courage and the resilience and the thoughtfulness of the intellect to really demonstrate what Yaqui excellence looks like. And you're part of the reason why we all do this and what motivates us to make sure that all of our students are succeeding, especially our Native students that, at least from my experience, have been left, right? So thank you to everyone who has been part of this effort. It's been collectively years in the making. It's just pretty monumental to see it all come together and amplifying Yaqui voice. So thank you to the tribe, to our council members, all the staff, tribe as well.
Okay, so we're not done.
Y'all,
We are going to, obviously, I think everyone knows in this room that, first of all, it's agendized that we're going to recognize our outgoing governing board president, Brian Garcia, which we're here for him. We're here for district, but for tonight, for him. So I want to do some gift giving first, and we're going to have some folks come forward and say if it's okay. So from a traditional Tempe Union point of view, we have the little gift, this record, 4 years board leadership.
not the puck.
Okay.
So for reference, this is the Coyotes puck, and I'm not sure if y'all follow Tempe politics, but Coyotes are in the news. I know. So this is
Going back to what you're saying, okay.
yeah, with the puck. Oh. glass cube, a very heavy glass cube.
So, remember James and I were looking at it, so her fingerprints might be on it.
That's why I can't tell now because it's all over.
And then we have another gift.
Why y'all put the tissues there?
I even polished it for you. So he doesn't forget us.
For reference, when I got elected in 2018 and got sworn in 2019, whether I would serve as a regular board member or go jump straight into leadership was something that I had thought about long and hard, in particular because there aren't many people like who get to these roles. To me, it was very important to make sure that able to have that representation. So from 2020, served as vice president, 21, 2 as president. So serving in leadership all 4 years was something that I don't know if any other board member has done since started.
I don't think so.
But I'm incredibly grateful for this current board and the previous board to have so much trust in me to help us navigate through some of the most challenging times. So, thank you.
So now we're going to open it up to, I think there are some folks here that we need to probably recognize. And so if we can open the microphone, if you want to come forward and share a Brian story quickly.
Oh my God.
And just to, or to thanks, or just to, maybe just a whatever you want to do. So
Y'all know I don't do surprises well.
well, that's the whole reason why we're doing it, okay?
I'll get us started. Good evening, President Garcia, one more time. Superintendent Mendeville, members of the board. My name is Rodrigo Palacios. I am the president of Tempe Secondary Education Association. 4 years feels like a decade. It feels like 4 seconds all wrapped up into one. And wanted to thank you, not only from TSEA for your leadership these last 4 years, but for myself personally. Brian, you listened to us. You were attentive to the needs of my colleagues, of our members, and you strove to create an inclusive culture for our district, a culture that brought equity, a culture that is reflected in the absolutely awesome presentation we just experienced from 2 of our young leaders of our Native communities. And there is nothing, I think, more satisfying as a teacher to see 2 beautiful young leaders come up here and speak so well for the needs of their community, for the needs of our community, and to reflect that leadership, that power. And that's all you, my friend. That is all your leadership. And I'm eternally grateful for that, and hope to continue in that friendship, in that guidance. I know that as a Yaqui leader, and as a leader of our community. Just because you don't have the title of president of the board anymore does not mean you will stop in this community. And we thank you for that. We thank you for your service over the course of the last 4 years. And we look forward to seeing what the future has. Thank you, Brian.
Leo Sanchaniabu, Gachamalea, Inepo, Serena Preciado, Titiak. My name is Serena Preciado, and I direct the Education Division for the Pascua-Yaqui tribe. Brian, we're so glad to be here tonight to send you off, but also to thank you for the work that you've done with the district as a whole, but also on behalf of the Yaqui community. A few months ago, we sat in a meeting together to talk about how to bring Yaqui language back to Tempe Union High School, and with your advocacy and the support of all of the team, but in particular Ms. James as well. We will have Yaqui language at Tempe Union High School District again this school year. And I think it's clear that we can see tonight, after the presentation from our Yaqui Youth Council members, that this work is not done, and we have a long road to walk together. And the Education Division, the Pascua-Yaqui tribe, will continue to meet with you all at the table to accomplish these goals. Brian, the work and the time that you've been here, we know the importance of visibility, how important it is for our young members to come here and to speak their truth, and how important it is for us to see one of our own, someone like ourselves, leading the way for them. And you can see the reflection of that in the words that they shared with everyone tonight. So I want to thank you for the space that you take here as a Yaqui person, the visibility that you create for our youth, and also have our Yaqui youth members wanted to present you with a gift tonight. This gourd is traditional to the Yaqui people. It is part of our ancestral food system. And so it's part of what nourishes us as people, but it also contains seeds. Those seeds are used for cultural performances. They're often heard in the shaking rhythm that the deer dancer and the matachin cultural members use. And for me, as somebody who went away to school for a long time and came back, to be home and to hear that sound again, that the rattle of the seeds of that gourd, it calls me home. And so having this in your home, I hope will remind you that we're here and we're with you, and that the Yaqui people are your home. Thank you so much for your service.
Antonia Campoy. It's really an honor to be here to witness this presentation to President Brian Garcia as of today. It's been an honor to know you. It's been an honor to see your leadership, and it's been an honor to see that you're working with the school board and the teachers and the principals to make this school district a place where excellence in the teaching and learning is here. And thank you. I know sometimes the work is very hard. You have to read a lot. You have to make tough decisions. But you have been a leader that has worked well for everyone, the students, the community, and especially the Guadalupe community, who have been in the district for many years. but we've made a lot of strides within the last 4 years. And it's through your leadership and working with the school board, working with the superintendent. And thank you. I also want to thank Dr. Mendeville for your leadership and your working with the school board. And I want to thank all the people that are here today. It's been an honor to be here and to listen to our youth make a presentation because they are our future leaders. And we are going to be working together to make our students and this district number one in the state. And thank you for your time and congratulations. And thank you so much for all your hard work. Gracias.
Hi, my name is Ellie Bettis-Blowski. You all know Brian as President Garcia. I know Brian as one of my best friends, one of my confidants, my comrade, my accomplice. I've known him for a long time, and there's very few people that embody what public service should be, that embody what our community needs. People who look like us and have our history don't make it to these spaces. And Brian has been an inspiration, not just for me, the organizing community, for our future leaders. I don't live in Tempe, and there's not a lot of reasons why I would come to Tempe, even though, I went to ASU. But when Brian said it's my last board meeting, we had to be here, my husband and I. Brian officiated our wedding. Brian watched us grow from friends, from acquaintances to friends, to boyfriend and girlfriend to engaged. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done for our community and for reminding me in moments where I want to give up. And I think that all the work we do isn't worth it. You are the reason why we keep coming back. A couple years ago, Brian told me a story while he was doing an internship for his law degree. And, he talked about the purpose of the prosecutor's office and what it had stood for a long time. And Brian fought to change what it had stood for a long time, to give people a second chance and give people healing. I'll never forget that story, and I carry it with me. I am so proud of you. Look at all of the people that came here for you tonight. We've been through incredibly great times together and terrible times together. And there are many left of both. But I know that as long as you're serving our community and leading, we're going to be okay. So I love you, Brian. I'm so proud of you, and thank you for all you've done, not just for the students of Tempe, but for the students of Arizona, because all the programs that you have helped push forward will move communities like ours forward. So thank you.
Lyosim Chanyavo, Kechamalea, Inepo Ismael Coronado Sunatea. My name is Ismael Osuna. I'm from Guadalupe. I have a son at Marcos Anissa High School. I'm here tonight, just hearing all these people speak, kind of hits the heart, man, you know what I'm saying? And I thought I was going to be ready to do this. But I just want to thank you, Brian, for your leadership, like everybody has mentioned. I want to thank you for really listening to our community. When I reached out to you, you listened to me, and not only me, but the needs of our community. You made sure that we had a seat at the table, and I appreciate that because for a long time, we didn't have that seat. And through your leadership, we were able to have a flag ceremony, which, included other tribal nations. Representation does matter. It matters to, especially indigenous communities, because sometimes we feel invincible. People look at us as past tense, but we're not past tense. And I want to thank you for always representing our community, our tribe, and all indigenous peoples. And also, how it was mentioned, you work with us to try to, well, not try, but to bring the Yaqui class to Tempe Union High School, which for a long time sat, stuffed away. But, you were there to listen to the community and the needs of the community and the wants and then you brought that to the community, and we're excited. I think I tagged you in one of the posts where even in Sonora, Mexico, Tempe Union made the news out there, which was really exciting to me because the people in Sonora are excited about Tempe Union taking the initiative of bringing a Yaqui class to the district to show and teach the class. So I just want to thank you for your leadership. And it's sad that, you're going to leave, but I know you're going to do great things. And, you've made you made a big difference here. I know that, like I said, every time that I emailed you or text you or something, you were there to listen, or you're like, hey, you pointed me in the right direction. And I appreciate that because like before, we didn't have that, you know what I mean? So I just want to thank you. And I want to present you with these Vea Bochums. Vea Bochums are Yaqui's traditional sandals. I want to present you with these because I want you to remember and never forget who you are. Always to remain humble but strong, and always work with a good heart. Because you are a proven leader. You knocked down so many barriers and stuff like that. And these sandals were worn in times of war. Our people wore these sandals when they traveled to and from Sonora to where we're at now. So I just want them to serve you as a reminder of who you are, where you come from. You come from a strong nation. We are the Yaqui Nation. And I just want you to remain humble, but always remain and work with a good heart. So with that, Toalios and Chokwe Utesia, thank you, Brian. I'm sorry if I'm just rambling, but I completely forgot what I was going to say because I got all emotional with all these speeches, but I appreciate your leadership. And once again, thank you.
I thought that was a pretty nice job. What do you mean? Are there any others like to come forward?
President Garcia, Dr. Mandeville, and members of the board. My name is Katie Garrick, and I am the choir director at McClintock High School, and President Garcia was my student for 4 years. And when he sat in my classroom at McClintock High School, he was a quiet leader. And I believe back then we had a saying that you could lead from any chair. And he led from the chair of being the role model by his example, not by a big voice or big words, but just by doing the right thing at the right time. Over 4 years, I watched you grow, and I watched you come into your own and turn into a person whose voice got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I am so proud to have been your teacher and to now call you such a dear friend, and to see the advocacy that you have done over these past 4 years that have been really hard for all of us, for students, for teachers, principals, for all of us. And you've been there through all of it. And I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to see what the next journey has for you. You're amazing. Thank you.
All right. Any others from the audience? Then we're going to proceed probably with the rest of the business. You have it now or at the end? Because we have governing board. You can do it right now. It's fine. It's fine. Fine, because I think you're on a roll right now.
No, I just wanted to say, when you talk about leadership, it's not just about leading a group of people, it's also about inspiring people and giving space to other people and teaching people how to be leaders. And I think that's one of the things you do really well, is you make sure that people who can lead, who should be leading, you give them that space, you encourage them all the time. And I know that you do it in your work, you do it daily, you do it with your friends, you encourage everybody, to be the best version of themselves. So it's, leadership is a big word, but I think that you do it on the spectrum every day in your actions and your friendship and how you speak with people. And I've learned a lot from you, and I'm just appreciative for everything you've done for the district and for our board, and we're gonna miss you so much.
So I had thought a lot about what I was going to say tonight. I'm in a similar position. I had stuff written out. It all went. I didn't work out. So I first met Brian when he was running for the board. It was my junior year when I was at Desert Vista. Barely knew what a school board was at the time. And from the moment that I had met him, and through the 4 years that I've known you, I think everything that you have done has been for the betterment of the students, the staff, the community. The level of selfless leadership that you have given this district the past 4 years. You've served 4 years, but with everything we've gone through these past 4 years, it might as well be 8 years. Serving as president during COVID-19 and leading this board and this district in the right direction, and always making the right decision for our students and our staff, not the easy, not shying away from the hard conversations. It gives way for some of the stuff that we've seen tonight in the presentations that we have. I mean, like some have said before, the importance of representation in these positions. And most of my time in high school, I never had that person that I could see in these positions and on my school board until you got elected, which was the reason that inspired me to just get involved in the first place. I know I would not be here without you. To have someone that is such a trailblazer, and to be able to have someone just to connect with and know what it's like, especially being young in a position like this. I mean, I wouldn't have gone through these past 2 years without you. I don't even know what else to say. I'm just gonna ramble at this point, but I hope you know how much you mean to all of us, to this district, but also to me, not just as a colleague, but as a mentor, as a friend, as someone that I can wholeheartedly trust and respect. And so I hope you know how much you mean. And I know even though you won't be sitting on the board next year, that you're still gonna have a monumental role in this district moving forward. I think the legacy that you brought these past 4 years is going to live on for a very, very, very long time. So thank you so much.
Wow, 4 years. I mean, so Brian and I ran together in 2018, and we really got to learn a lot about each other and our stories, and hearing his story and his perspective and how much he really cares for this community. He really cares for all of his relationships and every single one of you. It's been wild because when we first got on the board together, we were just talking actually not too long ago how wild it was and how bold we were to tackle certain issues. And with him as vice president, he brought that voice to the leadership aspect of the board. And, I still think about some of the stuff. I'm like, God, did we really do that? Wow, we really pushed that. Yeah. And I have so many fond memories of hanging out with you, of knocking on doors, of visiting classrooms, your family. I really feel that you have the biggest genuine heart that I've ever seen, in terms of our board, in terms of leadership, and what you gave, your time, your commitment, your passion these last 4 years is why so many people are here and why so many people speak so highly of you throughout all entire community. We are very thankful, and the things that you put in place for this district, those are new foundations for us moving forward. The things that you put together as a board president and vice president, that is now foundational for a board. There's a lot going on in the district that you brought that is going to create a foundation and grow. And I'm just excited to see what comes of it. And I just want you to know, don't forget that that's your legacy. Remember those times, how hard it was, how great it was to work with everyone here. And I just can't imagine not serving with you, to be honest with you. I don't know what that's going to be like because you're such instrumental to this board, to our district. And I wish you so much love, and I respect the hell out of you. I can't wait to see where you're going to be in 10 years. And I can't wait to call you and talk about this moment and these days when we were on the school board. So, brother, go forth and do great things. Wish you the best.
President Garcia, I bet you this is a surprise for you, isn't it? I know I'm speaking, but I know that for the time, and I know our students are going home and studying and so forth, I know I speak for the administrators in this room. You know, board service is one of the toughest roles that someone can undertake. And you've performed it with sacrifice, with dedication, and with thoughtfulness. And I use the word thoughtfulness because you and this governing board faced some really difficult decisions during your tenure. And you led in uncharted territories. And so I want to thank you for your service in that area. But on a personal note, and I know Ms. Garrick, I think, spoke to it as well. You know, as educators, we hope to make a difference in the lives of our students. And you were a student in our school system, and you were a student when I was principal in this school system. So on a very personal level, when I come to these governing board meetings and you are sitting up there, to me, I look at what educators and the difference that they make in the lives of students. So with that, I know that you, just like educators, want to know that you made a difference to students, and we want you to know that you did. So thank you for all of your work, your sacrifice, and your dedication to Tempe Union.
I was going to save my comments for the very end of the meeting when we have board comments. That means you guys can't say anything towards the end. You know, I've thought about this for quite a while. Brian started when we had momentum and we were doing some really wonderful things in the district, and had to learn how to lead in challenging times. You know what I mean? That COVID hit and everything just changed. We're just now recovering from that. And I just want to applaud Brian for his steadiness. You know, I could always, because I need to have that in leadership. There's times to show when you're upset, do that when you're leading people see you calm, collected, articulate, thoughtful. And someone else used that word. I'm going to use another word, intentional. So nothing that he does is not intentional. I mean, he knows exactly what he wants, what he's going to do. The good thing that I find all the time is that there's always that foundation of care and goodness and moral responsibility that as educators and as board leaders, that we are always asking ourselves, is this the right decision? How many students are going to be impacted by this? Is this right for our employees? Is the best way to go around it? And I think we've led together through some tough times these past 2 years, and hearing it in the study session, but also in some of the thoughtful words that others shared this evening. It reminds me, because I am getting old and I'm forgetting, but it reminds me of the things that we all went through together. And when you have a board president, particularly who's solid, who's steady, who's thoughtful, who takes the role seriously. I'll tell you, it's a thankless job and it's a tough job. And while we are fortunate in the city of Tempe, other members of our neighboring communities aren't as fortunate. And so I take pride in our board, in the work that they do, but also through the leadership that Brian has provided to his board members and his mentorship and his thoughtfulness and his caring and his listening. And I just appreciate that. It's meant a lot to me. I have grown because I just started, actually, but only been a superintendent for a year. It's different when you're sitting in any one of these chairs. So when you have a synergy of working together, you appreciate that. And for lots of reasons, I just have a lot of respect, appreciation, and love for you. You're a good man. You're a good human being. And like others have shared, I am just so looking forward to hear of the good things that you're going to do on behalf of humanity in general. And I want to hear the stories. And if there's any way I can help, I've told you that over and over. I want to. But it's been a pleasure working alongside you these past 2 years, Brian. And I want you to know that's from the bottom of my heart. Okay.
Those who know me well know that I can sit in a room in what others call awkward silence for the longest time and not have any issue with it. What does make me feel uncomfortable is all of this. But I'm incredibly grateful to everyone. When we first set out on running, I remember very clearly and was told that I deserved to run. I had to wait. I was not old enough, too young, experienced. That really just didn't fit the mold of what looked like for the job. I was in my first year of law school, which I 10 out of 10 do not recommend running for public office while also being in law school, especially your first year. I don't know what I was thinking. But that was such a monumental time for my family to just know that it was our time to make sure that our voices were heard, whether that meant running in this capacity or something else. But for whatever reason, as an alum from McClintock, it was something that spoke to me, especially with my brother had started at Corona. Later, eventually, handing was very special to us. Both of my parents immigrated to the U.S. My dad from the Pascual tribe in Mexico, my mom from El Salvador. Both of them as accompanying minors. Being the first one in my family to graduate high school, go to college, get a master's degree, graduate from law school and become an attorney, this was not part of any of the plans. And just seeing the sacrifices that they have made to ensure that my brother and I had a fighting chance to succeed, what their version of it looked like, was something that I didn't want their sacrifice to go to waste. It was something that I wanted to make sure that was honored in a way that was respectful to them and our ancestors. But particularly because, especially now, my dad is no longer here. And I know I've talked about that. Lost him right my first year, which really didn't give much time to grieve because we had a budget to pass shortly after. But losing him to pancreatic cancer was earth-shattering. That did not allow me this role properly, because the district work continued, and students needed support in their teachers and our administrators. But even through all of that, finding the strength among the fellow board members and administrators and everyone else that had stepped up, but I could not have done it without everyone who believed in our vision, have prayed back to me, and trusted to represent them. There will never be enough gratitude for that. In just seeing how much support there is, again, this makes, because I'm not, I like to work, I like to stay focused, stay behind the scenes, and continue chugging along. But thankful to my family and the sacrifices they make, because without their sacrifices, I certainly not any of them. Not keep this a running meeting just for me, but to go into district business. I just thank you all so much. I can't begin to express how grateful I am. All right, Vice President Montero, you might have to take over some. All right, thank you all. We'll go straight into report from Superintendent Dr. Mendeville.
Thank you, President Garcia, Vice President Montero, members of the board. I'm going to ask that Heidi Sinkovic please come to the podium, our Assistant Director for Special Education. So this is our day. We're going to honor you too for being a part of the district, selecting us, because I know you have choices, you have options, we all do, but you have one and you chose Tempe Union. Heidi came to Tempe Union this year after serving as a director of exceptional student services for the Leona Group of charter schools, where she oversaw special education programs for students in grades K through 12 throughout the state of Arizona. Over the past 18 years of experience as a teacher, special education coordinator, and director. Since 2015, she served on Arizona's Special Education Advisory Panel. Heidi has also served on committee and stakeholder groups for the Arizona Department of Education, most notably assisting as a core team member during a multi-year revision of Arizona State's Board of Education Special Education rules. In addition to her experience in special education, Heidi has extensive experience in the area of school improvement, school turnaround, strategies, grants, and leadership. Heidi and her husband, you're here, right? There you are, okay. Who has been a teacher with the district for almost 20 years, are Tempe residents. Yay, that's even better. And their oldest son attends one of our high schools. I know Heidi is sincere when she says she's excited to serve in a role that will have a direct impact on her home, district, and her. So welcome, Heidi, and you have the mic now after I'm done talking.
Thank you for that nice welcome. It is an honor to be here and follow this evening. Congratulations and great service. But it is wonderful to be part of. I have lived 9, and my son goes to Corona, so it's wonderful to be part of work that impacts people in our neighborhood, people that we interact with at social functions. Everyone has been wonderful, welcoming, and it's been a pleasure to get to know the schools, the principals, the staff members.
Thank you, and we're very, very glad you've joined us, and you're going to stay for a long while, aren't you? Okay. Charlotte Windsor, please come forward. Charlotte is our Director of Federal Programs and English Language Learners. She's not going to like that I'm going to read all this, but that's just what she's going to have to listen to. Charlotte joined the district back in 2001 school year as an ELL and sheltered English immersion teacher at Tempe High School, Yay, Buffalo. Since then, she's taught social studies, world and U.S. easy history, U.S. government psychology, SEI world, and U.S. Arizona history. Charlotte also has been an academic interventionist, assisting freshman students who have 2 or more failing grades to improve their academic success. During post-quarantine, her case management increased to 150 freshman students per semester. Charlotte led the inaugural year of Tempe High's MTSS team. Among the team's successes are its parent contact phone blitz, a decrease in tardies during academic intervention time, identification of a point person for every at-risk student, and utilization of benchmark testing to identify skill deficiencies and measure improvement. A graduate of Northern Arizona University. Okay, you stayed in Arizona, so that's good. With a Bachelor of Science degree and Masters of Arts in Educational Leadership, magna cum laude, Charlotte is using her experience and her devotion to students and their success, and it really is a devotion to our students, to benefit all Tempe students in her new role as Director of Federal Programs, English Language Learners. I feel very fortunate, and I'm confident in her abilities to be able to serve in this capacity. She's already proven herself over and over. So, Charlotte, Mike, yours, and thank you for being here.
I feel very exposed. President Garcia, members of the board, Dr. Mendeville, and executive team, thank you for this moment, especially sharing the spotlight with President Garcia. Thank you for that time. I am truly grateful that this is actually a delayed introduction, mostly because of my schedule, but the reason I'm so grateful is that it's given me 6 months to stand here with confidence and tell you that I have been blessed to be part of a team that is cohesive and intentional with how we utilize funds, how we utilize efforts, how we utilize all of the resources that are at our disposal, thanks to the taxpayers, generous taxpayers that give us that stewardship. And I am part of this team that utilizes all of that to improve academics within Tempe Union for the betterment of our students in school and in their personal lives. The team that Assistant Superintendent Hilgers has compiled is a joy to work with, and I don't say that lightly. I've been around the block a few times, and I know that that is truly unique and a blessing, and I am grateful for that. I believe all of you know that I'm deeply committed to the education of children, especially marginalized groups. And quite honestly, I think teenagers in general are one of the most marginalized groups in all of our society. And it is I feel a great responsibility for the stewardship that I've been entrusted with in order to help those that are even more marginalized get the access to resources that they need so that they can grow in their life. And if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce the important people that I brought.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right.
Absolutely.
So I brought my dearest friend, Julie Bowles. She was the first person who took a chance on me and saw in me what I couldn't see in myself for a very long time. And she has been a friend, a mentor, and just quite honestly, a sister in so many ways. And I'm grateful that she was willing to come tonight and sit through yet another board meeting. She was a principal long ago when principals had to come to all the board meetings. So she's now jealous that y'all don't have to do that all the time. And I brought 2 of my 3 children. My middle daughter is homesick, but I brought Olivia, who is a sophomore at Tempe High School, and Sam, who is a 4th grader at Arredondo Aspire. And my middle child, Sarah, is going to be joining McClintock as a freshman next year. And I brought, not to save you for the last, honey, but my very supportive husband of almost 17 years. He has had to shift his world because my world shifted when I took this position. And I'm grateful that he did it with grace and with kindness, because it has been a rough road and has been worth it for me professionally and has helped us all grow personally as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, the student art that you see on display, there was a shift, and so we have new artwork, so please, when you have time, come through these hallways, and it's outstanding student artwork from all 6 of our high schools. Jokingly, we had a member of the community that was criticizing that the district had lots of money to spend on fancy artwork, and I let him speak, and I said, guess what? It's our student and our teachers that are fantastic artists, and didn't say anything after that. So anyway, but we're lucky because we have talent out there. You see it in, or hear it in the voices of the students from McClintock, but we see it in the artwork that they're able to use for us. Lastly, we have McClintock Choir assemble the final song. Talk about excellence. Thank you, McClintock Acapella Choir. Thank you, Katie.
Yay, go acapella. I hope y'all see why I love acapella and chanticleers and Friends Choir. And all the different choirs that's part of. Oh my. Where are are we?
We are on G.
Oh, this is right. This is right. All right. All right, we will continue on with public comment. Dr. Mendenville, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
All right, we'll go straight along to consent agenda. Move approval of H1 through H18. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have board policies. I1, policy JLCB, accusations of students for first reading and adoption. Dr. Mendenville.
Thank you, President Garcia. This is as a result of House Bill 2086 that states that immunizations for COVID-19 or any variant of COVID-19 is not required for school attendance. House Bill 2371 also states that no governmental entity may require a person under 18 years of age to receive a COVID-19 vaccine or any variant of COVID-19 without a parent, parental, or guardian consent. We will be in compliance with statute. We've never been in a position where we've denied students, but this is as a result of some of our legislative action this past spring that's resulting in these recommendations for changing in policies regarding immunization of students.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mendenville. Board members, any comments, questions? Buttons. All right, hearing none, seeing none. I move approval of I1. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have I2, policy JLDAA, student mental health, social emotional wellness, suicide prevention for second reading. Dr. Mendenville.
Thank you, President Garcia. I'm going to say that as long as I can. So the revisions, as you recall, we said this, we presented this at the last board meeting for first reading. I have also presented this to you for review these past days. So we come prepared for any comments or recommendations or suggestions to this body for consideration. Do I hear any? Board member, Vice President Montero, do you have anything you want to shore that up with? Maybe Mr. McDonald.
I think we covered most of the ground in terms of the changes that we're making in the first reading. We got some good feedback from Member Barraza in terms of discipline, which is incorporated in the policy. But I also just wanted to say that what we're seeing here is only a fraction of the work that was done over the past several months. A lot of the work has also gone into the regulation to this policy, as well as working with Teen Lifeline to completely revamp our postvention plan as well. And so I did want to say a thank you to Mr. McDonald and also to Mr. Denny and the entire Social Emotional Wellness Committee for working these past several months to bring these changes forward. And let's do that. Thank you.
Member James.
Just quickly, I appreciate this policy so much when it was brought up the first time and all the work that went on-to this. And I work with a teacher at one of my schools, and she wrote us an email about two teachers at Marcos Deniza, Jill Callender and Vanessa Onspach, who had really helped her child. And they're teachers that really understand why we are focusing on the social emotional wellness of our students, and they really exemplify that. And she came to me and she said, what can I do? Like, these teachers are amazing. There's not enough to do or say to honor these educators and what they do every day behind the scenes. And just to see how grateful she was as a parent for all of the investment that these educators had in her child. And you extrapolate that out to all of the students they are working with daily. Our educators are impacting our kids in so many ways. And to have this focus on social emotional wellness for our students, our staff, is really important work. So thank you to everybody who has invested so much time and energy into this. And thank you, Vice President Montero, for centering this and getting it done.
Sure. I will move approval of I-2.
Thanks so much. I will second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. We'll go straight into J1, public hearing for revision number 2 of 2022 expenditure budget. Dr. Bennett.
Thank you, President Garcia. The public hearing, this public hearing is convened to allow for public comment on the revision number 2 of our 2022-23 expenditure budget. I don't believe we have anybody who's provided any input for comment, so
that's the best part. All right, then we'll go into K1, starting with business services revision number 2 of the 2022-23 expenditure budget. Dr. Manville. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'm going to have Mr. Carranza come and present the budget revision summary. And I want to publicly commend Mr. Carranza on bringing the board up to speed with the information that he has shared with you for these past months regarding to our average daily membership, funds that we tried to capture and reconcile on a regular basis. And that work has been very, very helpful in developing our budget recommendations for the 3-24 school year. Mr. Carranza.
Thank you. President Garcia, members of the board, Dr. Mendeville, executive team, and folks listening online and here in person. So I'm going to go over the budget revision, and just as a little backdrop is we propose a budget in June, we adopt a budget in July, and then we have an opportunity to revise the budget we did one in October, so you can always revise anytime. But the December budget revision we're notified by ADE they do a reconciliation when we complete our AFR in October. So they process that data and we have to reconcile the final figures. We built the budget on some estimates, and so you'll see that there's some adjustments for last year, and then there are some adjustments for the current year, and so that's what you'll see in the changes that are being proposed. A revision is required when there is a difference of more than 1% or $100,000, and so we have that difference, and so that's why we had to have the public hearing. But just go through the revisions here real quickly. So the revisions to the budget limit for M&O, the general budget limit. So when we revised the budget in October, we revised our budget in revision number 1 up to $128.4 million. So the changes that are going to be reflected are starting from that point. And the first change is that we have an adjustment for last year, and that is an adjustment for carryover, change from the estimated to the actual. And so this amount of $2.3 million is great, but it's already been committed in this year's budget. This was committed for the stipend for recruitment and retention, and we're getting ready as in payroll to pay the first part of this at the end of December, and the second half of that $3,000 stipend for recruitment and retention will be paid at the end of the school year. So we're capturing this budget capacity that was identified to be available to fund that stipend in the current year. So we're capturing that capacity there. The second adjustment is for the prior year as well, and that's the reconciliation when ADE processes the AFR. And this adjustment is primarily, there are changes to our ADM all the way through the summer for last year. When we proposed and adopted the budget, we went with the data that was available that was like through May. So this adjustment of $288,000 is for ADM adjustments for the final ADM for last year. So that's 288 down. Then we have a couple of adjustments for the current year. And in the current year, as Dr. Mendeville mentioned, we have been monitoring our ADM. I felt that it was important to monitor that weekly as we developed the first recommendations that we brought to you in October. But we knew that we were going to be making some budget advisory recommendations in December, so it was an additional reason to monitor. So this change in our ADM is through changes that have happened since revision number 1, which was October 12th, through, so in a month and a half, we actually picked up an additional ADM budget capacity of 903,000, and those were changes that were primarily came from our Group B, which is our add-on for gifted EL disabilities, weight that we have, free and reduced lunch, and in that category. We did have some changes in the Group A, but the net was 903,000 gain to our budget. And then we have another adjustment, Prop 123 add-on, and this one's only 4147. There is some state land trust money that was approved by the legislature as an add-on, and so this amount, when we built the budget, we go with an estimate from ADE. They finalize those calculations when they get final land trust money, and so they calculations, and so we're adjusting to the ADE figures here. So we're capturing that amount. And so with those 4 items, 2 from prior year and 2 from current year, we're seeing our budget limit for revision number 2 be at 131, just under 131.4 million there. So those are the changes to the M&O budget limit. Over on the capital side, through revision number 1, we were at 35.3 million. When we completed the AFR, we have an adjustment for the prior year. Our estimate was off by 60,000 to the plus, so we're picking up an additional 60,203 in budget capacity. In this account, we're allowed to roll over the interest earnings in this account, and so we estimated what interest earnings we would have for last year, and so we were off by 9,673, so we're capturing that capacity. A lot of the interest postings happen over the summer, so we didn't have any final figures, so this is, again, reconciling to final figures. Then we have a reconciliation in the current, another one for the prior year, and so this 2588, when we build the capital budget, it's based on not current year ADM, it's based on prior year ADM. And since the state hadn't finalized prior year, when we built the budget, we used the best number that we had at the time. And so this is a slight adjustment for adjusting for that formula calculation. So it's 2588. Then we have current year, a reconciliation of 19,105. Oh, I'm sorry. The prior year, the Budget 75 report that was for tuition revenue. We charge tuition to international students. Most of it goes to M&O, but there's a small amount that goes to capital, and so that's the 2588. The current year, the Budget 25, that 19,158 is an adjustment for the prior year ADM final number, because this year's capital budget is based on last year's ADM. So the capital is changing 3 things from the prior year and 1 from the current year. So it's going up to 35,377,000. Not a lot of change. So altogether in M&O, we're seeing a change upward of 2.9 million, 82,964, and on the capital side, 53,306 change. So it's more than a 1% or 100,000. So we are recommending that we that to approve revision number 2 of the budget for 22-23 and sign the cover page as presented. I'll entertain any questions you might have.
So much, Roland. Appreciate it. Board members, any comments or questions? Dr. Menderville?
Again, I'm just appreciative and grateful to the level of detail that you have kept us up to speed, so it's very easy to understand now. So just thank you so much, Roland.
Right. Yes. I was just reading the next steps because I was like, where's the thought? Got it. All right. At this time, I move approval of K1. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion 5-0. Now we go into the block for the 23-24 Budget Advisory Committee recommendation.
Thank you, President Garcia. We're going to call Member Hodge first, because I
Oh, okay, I forgot.
think she's done
Is
with her
she-
presentation.
Is it a presentation? I don't know about.
Please leave your message for 480.
Why the presentation isn't done?
Hello?
Member Hodge?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Roland, you're going to present the Budget Advisory Committee recommendation.
Thank you. Again, President Garcia, members of the board, Dr. Mendeville, executive team, audience here and online. So we're going to go over the work that our Budget Advisory Committee has done. We typically develop the budget over the course of a whole school year and come forward with recommendations May, June timeframe. However, we are changing things this year and coming to you with a recommendation for the following school year from Budget Advisory Committee to the superintendent in December. And it was deliberate. We wanted to have recommendations so that we would use the best information to project what our budget would be for next year so that we could issue contracts primarily to teachers earlier than what we have in the past, which is what a lot of our other competing school districts do, so that we could provide the information to teachers as far as what compensation changes there might be, so that we could show them the contracts and hopefully have acceptance of them sooner and in like February, March timeframe. So with that in mind, we wanted to develop these recommendations for presentation at this point in the school year. So it's a little bit different than the past. And so we had to meet frequently, I would say, in a shorter amount of time to do the work that we did. So that's why we were here in September instead of the end of the school year. So as a reminder, the purpose of budget advisory is to ensure that there is a transparent process for budget development that includes representation from the community members that we have on budget advisory, from the different employee associations, as well as those staff members not represented by associations, and that this committee will act independently in advising administration before any budget.
Wait! Shannon, don't shut it.
Member Hodge?
I'm sorry.
Before any
Sorry,
recommendations are made to the governing board. So here's the list of the 17 members that are on our budget advisory committee. I will point out that we added a new member to this committee this year. We have 7 previously existing stakeholder groups. We have TSEA, non-TSEA, site administration, executive team, CTEC, and community members on there. So this year what we did for CTEC or classified, we had some vacancies and we decided that we were gonna use one of those 3 slots to have a professional exempt classified individual that could represent those employees that are in that stakeholder group. And then the new one that was added that didn't exist before, there was an opportunity for information to funnel up through the previous stakeholder groups, but we decided to add a special education. We added our special education director, Dr. Boyle, to represent not only special education, but the instructional support schedule staff that special ed works real closely with. So we added that stakeholder group to our committee members. So just wanted to point that out. And so I want to thank all of our committee members because we met 6 times and we covered a lot of territory. We considered things, budget projections for not only M&O, but from other funding sources. We were looking at our current year real-time ADM, kind of where was that number tracking? Was there any capacity there? We looked at all of our salary schedules, the FTE distribution. That was a request that they had of me to look at that, to primarily identify the number of individuals that were at the top of each of the respective salary schedules. So we reviewed that information. We kept an eye on the M&O override because obviously we started by having 2 scenarios, one if the override was renewed and one if the override was not renewed. So fortunately we ended up developing a recommendation with the M&O override being renewed. We updated our salary projections for costing purposes to develop recommendations. We costed out, as you know, we're going to a 2-2-2 calendar next school year, and we've been evaluating how we're going to operate as a district over, the different employee groups. And so there has been reviews of calendars, and so you're going to see recommendations that impact calendars and some changes in that area is what you'll see. So those were considered. We did look at our ESSER funding. That was some information that we've shared before, but we wanted to keep an eye on those positions and that are funded. Not that the funding's going to go away next year, but it's still another year out. But we wanted to keep reviewing that and have that in the back of our mind as we develop budget recommendations. We discussed the aggregate expenditure limit, consideration. And then most of the employee group, stakeholder groups did surveys. And so they reached out to their stakeholder groups. And I believe that the majority of them conducted surveys and got feedback from the folks that they represent to help them in representing them as we developed our recommendations. So we did 6 meetings. We covered a lot of territory. And so again, I want to thank the committee because we have some. So I'll start with that. So when we looked at what additional budget would be available for 24, there was funding that was identified under the M&O side, and there was budget capacity identified from other funding sources outside of M&O. So starting with the M&O, there's a formula every year as we go into the next budget year. We know that the legislature has to fund at a minimum the lesser of inflation or 2%. We know that inflation is greater than 2%. So we know that the legislature will at a minimum fund 2% of the base support level. And so I costed that out based on our most current ADM. And so that generates an additional $1.750,000 in budget capacity for next year. There might be more, but this is the starting point, and we know that it's a safe minimum that we can move forward with. So then the next 2 changes are the ADM changes to our Group A and our Group B, and these are changes that are one's going down, but the other one's going up. But these are changes that have happened after the revision number 1 to the budget. And so we know that funding is we have it, and so we're projecting that that's going to be available for next year. And so then we also did a projection, 2 categories of projections for classroom site fund. So just like and this one is not a for sure. This one, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee will, based on sales revenue at the state level, that they will determine what the changes to the classroom site fund allocation is. It's been increasing over the years, and we're estimating 2%. It might be greater, and if it is, we'll come back with our second set of recommendations in the spring to capture any additional capacity. We believe that it's going to be greater than 2, but so we're starting at 2. And there is some existing capacity that's available in the existing allocation that's identified as well. So we also have a variety of other funds, primarily CPED, a couple of grants, the Instructional Improvement Fund, and that's the gaming revenue available from the state, and some district RIO funds, and the food and nutrition account. And we identified these funds because these will primarily be, as we were looking at making recommendations for calendar changes, the other fund is primarily going to be utilized, and you'll see this in these next coming slides, to address calendar changes that we're making. So all in total, we have a little over $2.5 million, just under $2.6 million for M&O, and a little over $1 million in other funds that are going to be utilized to fund the recommendations on the next couple of slides. So the first set of recommendations that Budget Advisory, and through their surveys and discussions, felt that we needed to honor step movement across all salary schedules. And so that is a little over 1.6 million. So that's the category of the first set of recommendations. And so it's for all salary schedules, including the coaching and extracurricular schedule that we have. So then the next set of recommendations were stipend recommendations. And this one, I can tell you that it was primarily to address the staff that is at the top of their respective salary schedules, all salary schedules. With step movement, those positions don't realize any change in compensation. And so we wanted to continue with what we've done this year. And we considered doing a different amount, maybe doing, not having it be one time. But after discussion, everybody unanimously said that they felt supportive of continuing a one-time $1,000 stipend, and it would be funded differently based on what salary schedules staff were funded from. But basically, we're continuing the longevity stipend. We know that we're working with our HR consultant to look at all of our salary schedules. So we didn't want to make this part permanent until we had an opportunity to work with our HR consultant to look at what type of things they see across the country and the state as far as a longevity type stipend. So we're continuing with a $1,000 stipend to at least provide something for those folks that are at the top of the salary schedules. So those are the stipend recommendations. And so then these next group of recommendations all are under the additional calendar day recommendations. So the very first one is for counselors, and we do have 5 days of counselors in the budget in the current year, and those are kind of 5 days per counselor per site, and those are days, a pool of days that are made available to the site. And so we're recommending that we have 7 days added to their calendar, not as flexible days, but as dates that are part of their start and end date as part of their duty days. And so we're thinking that there would be like 4 days, for example, at the start of the school year to help with the registration as we're starting earlier, and then 3 days at the end of the year that would be added on a calendar. So the funding amount is only to capture the 2 additional days because we already have 5 days that are in the budget. So, and this would apply for all counselors where the pool of days are utilized, not necessarily by all the counselors, but it's based on how they want to divvy up those pool of 5 days. So that's what we're recommending for counselors. For assistant principals, we're recommending that they go from 10 months to 11 months. And so that's a change of 20 additional duty days. The athletic assistant principals already have, like the counselors, 10 days that are a pool of days that are in the budget in the current year. So this amount is to get the athletics to go to the additional 10 days that are not in the budget. But then for the activities, it's to get the full 20 days that are, and the activities don't have that flexible pool. But it's basically to get them to 11 months so that there is administration staff at the sites that are available now that our calendar starts and ends later, and we have intersessions that we have administration, at least 2 administrators on sites. And so we believe that with the change to the 222 calendar, this will help to ensure that there are administration available at site throughout the entire time that we start the school year. So then the next 2 changes in calendars are in the teaching and learning department. We have a position for professional development coordinator and research specialist that we're recommending to go from 11 to 12. They work here out of the district office as our calendar is starts earlier and ends later. We believe that we're going to be utilizing these individuals all 12 months instead of just 11. So then the next 2 recommendations for calendar changes are from plan operations. We currently have a maintenance and support position at each one of our comprehensive sites, and that's an 11-month position. We're recommending that that position go to 12 months. And our custodians district-wide are 10 months. Some are 11 months, some are 12 months. Most of them are in the 10 and 11 months. Our recommendation is to make them at a minimum 11 months or 12 months, and then do a level out. We're trying to balance out based on the size of the campus, the number of students at the campus. Right now, if you look at the distribution of where we have our custodians, it's not very balanced. And so by shifting to 11 and 12, they'll be available throughout a longer period of time. They do a lot of the work during the summer, but now we need to have them do the work because there's less time in the summer to do that work, like during the intersessions, the 2 windows of time. So we believe that this will better serve our needs as we move to the 222 calendar. So then we have 2 recommendations in our food nutrition area, and that's to bring our cafeteria managers, there's 6 of them, to start 3 days earlier to get ready for the start of the school year. And then we have a position here at the district office that assists the director, and that position is 10 months. So as we do summer school, intersession, we plan to feed students, we believe that we need that position year-round instead of just 10 months. And then the last 4 recommendations are in our transportation department, and we're recommending to bring our bus drivers 3 days earlier than what their current calendar duty days are to get ready for the new school year. They have a less amount of time in the summer, so they would do a lot of training during this time. But so since we have less days, we're recommending that we add 3 additional days for all drivers. We have 6 routes for EVIT in our district, and EVIT does not operate under a 222 calendar. And so we cannot match our student calendar to their calendar. And so we know we need those 6 route drivers longer, and we plan to utilize them for summer school and intersession. So we're recommending that 6 of our drivers go from 9 months to 12 months so that they can, be on board and be available for all of these different activities beyond what typically they would do under 9 months. So then we have 2 bus drivers that the last 2 are safety recommendations. We are recommending that 2 bus drivers go from 9 months bus drivers to 12 months bus driver and trainer. We have a need, as we have a lot of turnover, as we hire bus drivers, that they need training, and we only have 1 trainer, so we're wanting to utilize a driver that is experienced to also be assisting the primary trainer to train so that we can follow up and do the training that's necessary to either certify people that we recruit that don't have CDLs and just to be safe out there as we get data. So that's one recommendation. The other one is to convert a driver from 9 months to a 12-month dispatcher. We have one dispatcher. They start at 5 a.m. Their duty day ends at 2:30, but we have buses out in the field all the way to 5:30. And so we're paying our dispatcher overtime, but they're exhausted. You know, we think that it's more efficient to just repurpose one of the drivers to a dispatcher so that we can cover that. It's actually also a requirement from the state that we have somebody that's available in the transportation department when we have buses out. So this is more of a safety to address that safety concern. So all of these calendar recommendations on the M&O side, they add up to just under 300,000, and on the other funds, it's a little over 400,000. So then the other category of recommendations that our committee is recommending are for some positions. And the first one is 6 positions, 3 from M&O and 3 from Classroom Site Fund. And I think presented in our strategic plan that an update from that we're started a mentor program. And so this is a continuation of expanding that and getting the state to certify or grow our own. So this will add on to that. And so it's to provide an instructional coach, mentor leader at for each one of our comprehensive high schools that will work with the staff in the classrooms and work with the PD coordinator at the district to do all of that work. And I know Dr. Keller can have anything else to add to that. But that's primarily what we're doing. We're also applying for grant funding for this initiative. The state provides funding if you take on this responsibility. So we've applied. We don't know if we're going to get funded. So some of these costs may come down if we do secure that grant, but we're continuing to move forward to do more to provide support for our classroom. So then we have recommendations to add a maintenance support position here, a 12-month position here at the district office, and 1 custodian, 11 months at the Innovation Center for when that opens up next school year. We are recommending 2 bus drivers, 9 months, to provide the new routes that are being developed for the Innovation Center. There'll be a route for the 3 northern sites and a route for the 3 southern sites in our district. And so then we also have it could be a position, but it could also be sections, but we wanted to provide IEP support as a pilot. We heard that this was a need that was out there. We don't know what the perfect solution would be. It could be a full-time position. It could mean that identifying where the caseloads are and maybe providing extra release time for some of those folks that have the higher caseloads, or some other solution that we haven't identified, but we did want to provide some dollars to provide IEP support district-wide, so that recommendation is there. So the position recommendations is about $563,000 from M&O and $300,000 from other funds. So then the remaining funds that are available from M&O, we decided to just leave that available. So we didn't spend it down to zero. We said, hey, we know that there's going to be some changes from medical insurance premiums. We'll find out early in next semester how we're trending as far as our medical insurance. There could be changes to our teacher experience index, and there could be changes to our ASRS employer contribution or other things that are identified. We believe that there might be some additional funding from the legislature, so there might be more than this amount available. Our ADM could change. There could be changes due to that. But for now, our recommendations, we're leaving some of the funds behind. And just to recap, if you take a look at the different categories, we have recommendations for salary schedule increases, step movement, all schedules, stipend, the longevity stipend, and we have additional calendar day recommendations. We have a couple of position recommendations, and then the other is basically our contingency that we're leaving behind for M&O, a little over 2.5 for M&O total and $1 million for other funds. So with that, those are the recommendations that our budget advisory is making to our superintendent as far as the work. And I can say that the recommendations were supported unanimously by all in members of the budget advisory. I'm so proud that we were able to get it done in a time frame that was expedited, and we went through a lot and we left some money on the table. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you so much, Roland. Thank you so much for the quality of work and the precision, especially in a expedited time frame. We all know how crunched we are for time, and I appreciate your work and the committee's work as well. Certainly no amendments from me this time around. Board members. Oh, all right, we got one. Vice President Montero.
First, just want to thank you, Roland, and the entire committee for all your work. I know it feels like we just had you up here doing the major revisions in October, so now you have been meeting very frequently. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. But one question I did have, and I briefly talked with Dr. Mendeville during board prep, just given that these recommendations are coming forward fairly quickly, like you said, this is the first time that we're doing it this early in the cycle. I guess my question is around what level of certainty you have that this is kind of the amount of funding that we're going to have going into this, given that the legislative session hasn't even started yet, and not knowing what to expect, especially just given what we've experienced these past 2 years. And from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're saying this is kind of the minimum amount that we're expected to get, and because I doubt it would go down, but if we have any additional funding, would that go through the same process? You'd reconvene the BOC and bring any recommendations for it before we formally adopt it?
Yes, I thank you. I am very conservative, and so I only put forth what I believe is going to be there at a minimum. So I can assure you that the M&O recommendations that are here are at a minimum, and if I'm hopeful that the legislature thinks that I think I've seen some preliminary JLBC projections, so there might be something that they might do something. I don't know what area that might be, but I feel confident that we're pretty safe with moving forward with these recommendations at this time. I can assure you that with M&O override being passed, I was more worried about that not passing. With that being secured, we do have reserves in our district should there be something unexpected like the AEL that we have to address, and should there be something else that the legislature does that's not expected, we have the capacity in our district because of our being financially responsible. We plan to set appropriate contingency aside to address something that may come up that might adjust.
Thank you.
Member Braza.
Just really quickly, appreciate the consideration for the calendar and all the aspects that go into it, from transportation to, EVIT and the relationships we have and partnerships with the community and what students are doing. And it's not easy, especially trying to predict all of those aspects. So, it was very much a lot of work for the budget committee. So please convey that we're all very thankful for that. The only question I would have is just more a general one. We're looking at a new superintendent of education, Kathy Hoffman, again, just put together something out of her office in the span of food and nutrition and reduced meals or reduced cost meals. What do you feel from your experiences, just the likeliness of big swings when you get that transition from just your time understanding educational budget? Is that something that we'll have to wait and see, or is it pretty much whatever comes out of the office generally applies to the second or after the summer, the following school year? It could seem disruptive is what I'm getting.
What is safe to, what you can expect from them is they're going to fund the 2% for inflation, for sure. Anything else beyond that is, I tried to guess, but you just don't know it.
The state loves putting our financial aspects in a crystal ball aspect, so I appreciate the hard work everyone does just to try and predict what our school year is going to require, funding wise and making all those adjustments. Are we going to have another adjustments, or is this one the final one, right?
We plan to bring
We have
forth
one in
another
May.
set of budget advisory recommendations at the end of next semester. Even if there is no funding, one of the things that our committee did consider was I did ask for them to provide budget savings recommendations. So we collected some of those. I'm holding on to those, and so we're going to bring that back, and so those will be recommendations that come. You might see some recommendations if the legislature provides additional funding. You'll see budget recommendations, and if there's not budget recommendations, we might have like, hey, we have some recommendations as far as budget savings or that might be repurposed or other things like that. So we will be doing reviews we'll be meeting to come back forth with some recommendations.
Wonderful. I appreciate the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Barraza. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, Dr. Mendenville.
All right.
Real quick.
That just to be clear, though, that we are fortunate that we have revenue to play with, to consider. We've not been in this position this early in many, many years. So when he says we're confident we can at least be relying on the 2% inflationary, that's everything that I've read and heard. So this is a new position that we're in to make a budget recommendation this early. However, it's timely because we are going into this new calendar year, the modified calendar year. A lot of work has to happen when we return from winter break to begin preparing for contracts and all of that. So I'm grateful of the work that the committee has done in a very comprehensive, transparent way. So thank you very much. And
Thanks so much, Dr. Mendenville. Thanks so much, Roland. All right, and just so everyone, board members, you're aware, this is only for discussion, information, and presentation. The vote will come back around with the new board. All right, moving on to K3, affiliation agreement with Pima County Community College District for student teaching experience at district schools. Dr. Mendenville.
This is simply to add a Pima County Community College students to participate in clinical or student teaching experiences, internships within the Tempe high school system. And that was one of the goals from HR in their goal number 3 to expand the recruitment efforts for candidates for internships and student teaching experiences.
Thank you so much, Dr. Board members, any thoughts or questions on this item? All right, hearing none, seeing none, I will move approval of K3. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks so much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have K4, affiliation agreement with Prescott College for clinical student experience at district schools. Dr. Mendenville.
Thank you. And this again is extending opportunities for student internships, student teaching experiences with Prescott College. Prescott College back in the day was considered a fairly renowned education college for the state. So I'm glad to see that we're returning an affiliation with them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mendenville. Board members, any comments or questions on this item? All right, hearing none, seeing none, I move approval of K4. May I have a second, please?
I second.
Thanks so much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have K5, purchase approval of 6 activity buses. Dr. Mendenville.
Thank you. While I'm doing that, I think June's just going to be trying to call Member Hodge right now. The purchase of 6 activity buses, as with a lot of our vans and utility vehicles, they have a life cycle, and that's what's happening here. The Transportation Department requests that we purchase the 6 Collins 14-passenger activity buses that we use for students for in-state kinds of activities and athletic events and whatnot. Hello, Member Hodge, hang tight.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And so we are recommending, and it happened to be that this particular vendor had them available, so we are able to get them at a reduced cost as well. So administration recommends the approval of purchase of these 6 activity buses.
Thank you, Dr. Mendenville. Board members, any comments or questions on this item? All right, hearing none, seeing none, I move approval of K5. And may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Next, we have K6, approval to increase Mojave cooperative contract for kitchen and food service equipment and services. Dr. Mendenville.
Thank you, President Garcia. Originally, you had approved on October 12th the amount of $275,000, and after a kind of a review survey to determine where we were with certain kitchen items, the Food Nutrition Department, working with CTE and McKinney-Vento, realized that we needed to replace appliances that have exceeded their lifespan. Food Nutrition Department is doing a nice job in looking at comprehensive review over all the kitchen appliances so that they're working on a regular, like our warming drawers, the ovens, things like that. But this ballooned, so it's ballooning from all the way to $275,000 to $700,000 for the purchase of kitchen and food service equipment.
Dr. Mendenville, board members, any comments or questions? All right, hearing none, seeing none, I move approval of K6. May I have a second, please?
I second it.
Thank you so much. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Right, new business, L1, Superintendent's first semester goal, fiscal year 22-23, Dr. Mendenville.
Thank you, President Garcia. In the study session, we reviewed an abundance of work over the past 5 years. It was a labor of love from all of the team members, and having my hand in all of that was exciting. I'm even more excited for what we're able to do with that existing information for our next strategic plan and how we organize and just plan how we're going to document results. Because I'm proud to say that through this strategic plan, we set a pretty credible foundation in our systems, in our programs that we have in the district. Because I've been in the district now for 12 years, and we're in far better shape in terms of what we're able to monitor and with our assessments and that kind of a thing. So it's just exciting to see what we can do over the next 5 years. So I am recommending that you approve my first semester goal.
Thank you, Dr. Mendenville. Board members, Vice President Montero.
Thank you. I just wanted to have it on the record, since I was not able to make it for the study session, since I was on a plane back here to Arizona, that I'm going to sit down with Dr. Mendenville and go through all of this separately after this meeting. But since I wasn't here for the study session, I don't want to vote on something that I wasn't fully informed on, so I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Thank you, Vice President Montero. Board members, any other comments or questions? All right, may I have a motion?
I motion to approve L1, Superintendent's first semester goals.
All right, may I have a second?
I'll second.
There we go. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Those abstain?
Abstain.
All right, motion passes 4-0-1. All right, going straight into information items. Financial report through December 8th, 2022. Please keep in mind that this is for informational only. M2, organizational meeting for the next leadership team will be on January 11th, 2023. For M3, request for future agenda items at this time. Please keep in mind that this is only for requests, not to add anything else, and does not guarantee it agendized items for the next one. All right, move on and wrap up with communications from governing board members. Who'd like to go first?
Can I go first so I can, I just want to say really fast to President Garcia, I'm not here in person. I'm so sorry I missed your last meeting. It has been a pleasure for the last 4 years to serve with you. I've learned as much from you as any other new board member has. So, and I just can't wait to see what your next adventure in life will be.
Thank you so much, Member Hodge. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. And at that point, I'm going to actually hang up so you guys have a wonderful Merry Christmas. And everybody have a wonderful holidays. I shouldn't say Merry Christmas, but have a wonderful holidays and a Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Member Hodge. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Member Raza.
Yes, really just wanted to say that it's been a great year, and I really appreciate serving alongside you, President Garcia. It's been a wonderful experience, and we're better off, for your presence and for your leadership. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to say happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year's. Please stay healthy, stay safe, and look forward to January. That's all.
Thank you, Member Braza. Member James.
Yes, keep it brief. Thank you again, President Garcia, and happy holidays to all, and congratulations to all of our fine arts programs that are having concerts after concert and presentation after presentation. Best of luck for wrapping up the semester for all our teachers. I know grades are due, and there's a lot going on, final exams and so on. So all the love to all our educators, all our staff.
Thank you so much, Member James. Vice President Montero.
I have too much else to add to that. I'll just echo what my fellow board members have said and wish everyone a happy holidays, and all of our students good luck as they're wrapping up their semester. And of course, I know we said it a lot earlier, but wanted to thank you again. It's going to be weird the next 2 years without having you up here alongside us. But I'm excited to see where you go next. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Montero. I'll wrap us up. I do want to give a quick shout out to for the regional competition this last weekend. I was actually in Albuquerque the previous week and flew in on a 5 a.m. flight to make it on time. And it was amazing. For those who aren't familiar, We the People is a civics high school competition, primarily based entirely on the Constitution. And it's phenomenal to see high school Constitution so intently and with incredible intellect they have. Judged with our very own Megan Sterling, who's an alum of the program. That was fun to have her there. And while we are not biased in our judging, while I am on this seat and in this role, I do want to congratulate Corona because they did come in second. I hope best of luck to them as they go on to state, hopefully nationals. And then just wanted to take a moment to thank my own family for, again, their sacrifices. Could not do it without them. Those folks who came today, Boy, Jack, Tori, Stefan, Rigo, Ellie, Chris, Sleepy, back, but also Sam, who was here earlier, left. And also just a quick thank you to the original team that helped get here. Amanda, Tori, Eric, Jack, Cole, John, Alexia, and Mindy. Judah was my 8th grade social studies teacher. So if you haven't noticed throughout all of this, teachers well gone above and beyond to trust, believe in me to achieve the height. But thank you all so much. It has been an honor of a lifetime for someone who, the first gen, former ELL, young Latino, gay, Native individual who is incredibly proud for allowing me to serve in this role and allowing me to be visible for those who have not had that. Again, honor of a lifetime. Thank you so much.
Just remember, I know where you live.
Oh no, it's not going to be public record like
I just quickly, because I know it's getting late, but I don't say this as a goodbye, because you're going to be part of our life, and that you're going to be doing well, I think next year, even though you may not be a board member, but I know they're going to want you a part of that. But you're going to be around, and I appreciate knowing that. Because what's been revealing or a revelation for me is that while we have priorities of making sure that we're taking care of all of our kids, having you on the board really made that happen. It really made that happen, I guess, more. And it was intentional, and that's why I used that word earlier. So it's helped me to not take that for granted. So we've got to look and find, see, open our eyes to what we're not accomplishing. I think everyone in this room has the greatest heart, the greatest intention, but not thoughtful and intentional, and it's on your radar all the time. Just we may lose some of our kids, and we can't afford that. So thank you for bringing that front and center for me. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Randall. And then just another quick shout out, thank you to the McClintock Acapella Choir for being here tonight. That was a very, very special moment for me. Moments.
Outstanding, actually.
Yes.
You're going to get that extra section, whatever you...
Listen. You know I'll be here real quick. To which also tomorrow is the choir concert, so if anyone wants to go.
I'm going.
With that, Dr. Randall, do you or the executive team have any questions?
Just impressed with all the performances that I've going. I was at the last, and Dr. Clark, the Springs and Orchestra out. So it's a nice time of the year to enjoy our own work. Appreciative of that every day.
Thank you. Thank the executive team. It's been an absolute privilege. Yeah, great working with you, and so proud that you are over at Chargers. And please extend my thanks to the other administrators and principals as well. But with that, the next regular meeting is January 18th. For one last time, I move to adjourn. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. We are adjourned.